Rain poured through the cracked ceiling, soaking the thin mattress where her youngest daughter slept. With trembling hands, Anna moved the bucket closer to catch the dripping water, her eyes stinging, not from the cold, but from the silence that followed her husband's departure 3 months ago. He had left a note and a key to this broken house, a house he once mocked, calling it fit for the forgotten. Yet, as Anna looked at her sleeping children, she made a silent promise. This house may be broken, but our hearts will not be. The first morning in the old house was quiet except for the creaking floorboards that echoed with every step. The air smelled of dust and damp wood, and cobwebs hung like fragile curtains over the corners. Anna wrapped an old shawl around herself and stepped outside, where the overgrown garden had long surrendered to weeds. The townspeople often passed by the property, whispering. Everyone knew this house. It was a relic, a reminder of dreams that had died long ago. Anna's husband, Robert, had walked away when life got hard. The bills piled up, the laughter in their home faded, and one day, he simply stopped coming home. He left a short note. "You deserve better. I can't do this anymore." Along with it came the deed to the old house his family had owned for generations, a cruel joke disguised as a gift. For weeks, Anna wept every night. Her 2 children, Sophie, age 7, and Ben, age 5, were too young to understand why their father was gone. But they understood hunger. They understood the cold. So, Anna decided to stop waiting for help and start building something, anything. With nothing but her hands and hope, she began to clean. She tore down the rotten curtains, scrubbed the floors, and patched the roof using scraps from the shed. Every nail she hammered carried a prayer. Every patch of paint she brushed carried love. One day, a neighbor named Mrs. Caldwell, a widow in her 60s, stopped by. "You've got spirit, dear," she said, handing Anna a loaf of homemade bread. "That house looks like it's finally breathing again." Anna smiled through tears. "Thank you," she whispered. It was the first kind word she'd heard in months. That small act of kindness, warm bread and warmer words, sparked something inside her. She began to bake in return, using what little flour she could afford. Soon, she shared loaves with neighbors, elderly widows, and children who roamed the streets barefoot. The old, broken house that once symbolized her humiliation slowly became a gathering place, a place of warmth and laughter. People started calling it the kind home. Anna didn't have much, but she had love, and somehow, that was enough to start changing everything. Months passed, and seasons changed. The little house at the end of Willow Street no longer looked abandoned. Its fence was mended, flowers bloomed by the window, and the scent of freshly baked bread greeted every passerby. Anna's kindness spread quietly, like morning light through fog. When the factory nearby shut down, leaving dozens jobless, she opened her doors to families who had nowhere to go. She offered soup, comfort, and a listening ear. One evening, a young mother named Clara arrived with a baby in her arms. She was trembling, soaked from the rain. "Please," she said, "I have nowhere else to go." Without hesitation, Anna ushered her in, wrapping the baby in a dry blanket. "You're safe now," she said softly. That night, as Clara cried by the fireplace, Anna sat beside her, remembering her own nights of despair. She didn't have all the answers, but she had compassion, and that was enough. Days turned into weeks. Clara helped Anna with chores, and together, they began offering meals to anyone in need. What started as one act of kindness grew into something larger. People began donating what they could, clothes, blankets, and old furniture. Soon, the house became a small community center of sorts. Local children came to read, the elderly came to share stories, and lonely hearts found family again. But not everyone approved. Some townsfolk whispered, "She's making a fool of herself, helping strays and beggars." Anna didn't listen. "If kindness is foolish," she said one evening as she tucked her children into bed, "then I'll gladly be the fool who keeps loving." One day, as Anna walked through town, she saw a familiar face, her husband, Robert. He looked worn, thinner, lost. Shame filled his eyes when he saw her. "Anna," he said quietly, "I heard about what you've done. They call this place the home of hope. You turned my failure into something beautiful." Anna's voice trembled. "It was never about revenge, Robert. It was about surviving and choosing love anyway." He left with tears in his eyes. And that night, Anna finally forgave him. not for his sake, but for her own healing. Years passed. The once broken house stood tall, painted in soft cream and surrounded by wildflowers. A small wooden sign by the gate read, "The home that healed us all." Anna's children had grown. Sophie became a nurse, inspired by her mother's compassion, and Ben studied architecture, dreaming of building shelters for the homeless. The legacy of kindness lived through them. The house had become a refuge for many, runaways, widows, veterans, and orphans. People who once arrived in despair left with hope in their eyes. One evening, as Anna sat by the fireplace with a cup of tea, a young man knocked at the door. "You don't know me," he said softly, "but years ago, you gave my mother a place to sleep when she had nothing. She always told me that your kindness saved her life. Today, I run a foundation that builds homes for single mothers. I wanted to thank you." Anna's eyes filled with tears. "You see," she whispered, "the love we give never dies, it only grows wings." The man smiled, placing an envelope on the table. Inside was a check, enough money to repair and expand the home so it could help even more families. When Anna looked out at the sunset that evening, the same old roof now stood strong, golden light pouring through the windows. The house, once mocked as broken, had become a beacon of healing for thousands. And though life had taken so much from her, it had given her something greater, purpose. She whispered to herself, "Kindness was never about what I had. It was about what I chose to give." As dusk settled, children laughed in the yard, families shared stories by candlelight, and the house that began in sorrow now sang with love. Moral of the story: even when life breaks you, the kindness you give can rebuild not just your world, but the hearts of everyone you touch.